In a world full of noise, Ernest Hemingway wrote with silence. Where others painted with color, he carved with shadow and light. He lived hard. He wrote harder. Wounded in war, driven by love, haunted by death, and always chasing truth. This is not just the story of a man. It's the story of a voice, a style, a legacy. A man who changed literature by saying less, but meaning more. This is the life of Ernest Hemingway, told the way he might have told it. He was born on July 21, 1899, in Oak Park, Illinois. A place of churches, lawns, and quiet expectations. His father, Clarence, was a doctor and outdoorsman. His mother, Grace, was musical, ambitious, and overbearing. Ernest loved his father's woods more than his mother's piano. At 17, he took a job at the Kansas City Star. They had a style guide, short sentences, active verbs, no adverbs. Hemingway followed it. It followed him for life. Then came the war. World War I. He volunteered as an ambulance driver for the Red Cross in Italy. A shell exploded near him. He dragged a wounded man to safety, took over 200 pieces of shrapnel in his legs, and still tried to stand. He was 19. That pain, the physical and emotional, never left him. He came home changed. The old world felt small. So he left again. In 1921, he married Hadley Richardson and moved to Paris. There, he walked among giants, Gertrude Stein, Ezra Pound, James Joyce. They shaped him. But he was no disciple. He listened, took notes, and sharpened his own blade. His early work, like in our time, was raw and fresh. Then came The Sun Also Rises. A story of Americans and Brits drinking across Europe, broken by war, numb with gin. Jake Barnes and Lady Brett Ashley. Two lovers, but never quite lovers. It wasn't sentimental. It was honest. Brutally so. Then A Farewell to Arms, a love story set in the mud of Italy. Catherine dies in childbirth. Frederick walks back to the hotel alone. No music. No lesson. Just pain. The ending hit like a bullet. That was Hemingway. He divorced Hadley. Married Pauline Pfeiffer. They moved to Key West. He fished. Drank. Wrote. Then to Spain again, to cover the Civil War. There, he met another war, and another woman, Martha Gellhorn. A journalist. Fierce and fearless. She became his third wife. War and women, he never could stay away from either for long. He wrote For Whom the Bell Tolls about that war. Robert Jordan, an American fighting for the Republicans, falls in love in the shadow of death. The novel asks, what are we willing to die for? And what happens when even that isn't enough? By now, Hemingway was a legend. His face was rough, his beard thick, his voice deep. He boxed, hunted, drank with matadors. In Cuba, he wrote The Old Man and the Sea. Just 27,000 words, but it won the Pulitzer. Then the Nobel Prize. The old fisherman, Santiago, battles a giant marlin far out in the Gulf Stream. He loses the fish to sharks but never gives in. A man can be destroyed but not defeated, he says. That was Hemingway, too. But time was catching up. 2 plane crashes in Africa. One broke his skull. The other burned his legs. Reporters wrote obituaries. He laughed, wrote a letter from his hospital bed saying, rumors of my death are exaggerated. But inside, he was fading. Depression. Paranoia. Writer's block. He couldn't find the words anymore. The sentences didn't work. And without the work, what was left? On July 2, 1961, in Ketchum, Idaho, Hemingway rose early, walked quietly to the basement, and ended his life with his favorite shotgun. What made Hemingway different wasn't just what he wrote, but how. He stripped language down to its bones. No decoration. No fluff. Just truth. His iceberg theory said that 90% of the story is below the surface. What's left unsaid is just as important as what's told. His dialogue was real. His sentences, muscular. You feel the weight of what isn't spoken. Critics called it minimalist. But that's too simple. Hemingway's style was raw, yes, but full of tension. Full of life. His influence? Everywhere. From Raymond Carver to Cormac McCarthy. From journalism to screenwriting. Even in silence, he shaped the voice of the 20th century. But he was no saint. He could be cruel. Arrogant. His relationships often ended badly. He pushed people away, friends, wives, even his own sons. Behind the bravado was a man fighting demons, many of them winning. Still, the work remains. And the work speaks louder than the flaws. Hemingway once wrote, "The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places." He broke. But through that break, he gave us something unbreakable. His life was a battle. His writing, the record of it. And though he left us long ago, his voice still echoes. Short. Sharp. Honest. Like a rifle crack in the dark.